Shalom, this is Daniel John Lee with Torah Restoration Ministries. It's Monday night, September 5th, 2017, the beginning of the 15th day of the 6th Hebrew month. Only now 15 more days, half a month left until Feast of Trumpets, 2017, Yom Teruah. And in case you haven't seen the news, the Pacific Northwest, well, you can see the picture here. That's what Portland looked like today. That is not normal. This is not LA, this is Portland. And huge fires were started in the mouth of the gorge just to the east of Portland. Apparently 2 teenagers were firing off firecrackers on Shabbat of all days, and it ignited into a fire, and the fire's grown so big that it's threatening Multnomah Falls and the lodge there that people come from all over the world to see. The fire actually this morning jumped over the Columbia River. And the Columbia River is very wide. It's a wide river. Separates Oregon from Washington. It literally jumped over the river. The burning embers were flung by the wind. And the fire started in Washington. And so there's been evacuations now in the east from both the Oregon side and Washington side. And just huge. I mean, you go outside, literally you see ash just swirling in the air. And the sun looks like this burnt orange. The moon is blood red. And this has been happening now for a few days. So literally Oregon and Washington, the Northwest, is in sackcloth and ashes during this 6th Hebrew month, commonly called the month of Elul, or the Jews have a tradition that it's a month of repentance leading up to the fall feasts. Trumpets, which occurs this year on the 21st, and then 10 days later Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. So it's fascinating how this sackcloth and ashes has literally clothed the Northwest. And then, of course, out in the southeast of the United States, we're getting slammed by these mega hurricanes. First, Harvey, one of the biggest hurricanes that ever hit Texas for I don't know how long, since I think the 60s. And now this Hurricane Irma is coming up. I mean, you see this monster. They said it's the biggest hurricane ever recorded outside of the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico. And it's looks like it's headed toward Florida. So, you got these huge fires. I mean, unprecedented fires, really. I've lived here for, well, since 1998, with the exception of 3 years in California. But I've pretty much lived here for almost 20 years. I've never seen anything like this in Portland, ever. And they said that the air quality index is as bad as it's ever been recorded. It's up to 271. Meteorologists who've worked for 30, 40, 50 years in the area have never seen it like this. And of course now we're having these huge hurricanes that we've never seen. I mean, this Irma now is I think clocked at upwards of 185 miles per hour, which is basically the strongest hurricane they've ever seen through the Atlantic. So, Yah is allowing these huge fires to consume and burn the Northwest, and you got these massive storms, one on top of the other, hitting the southeast. It does appear that he's trying to say something, right? I mean, he's basically, I think, showing that he's not happy with the fruits of this nation. I mean, by and large, the Christian church is lukewarm. There's no sign of revival or repentance. Evangelism is dead. People are not keeping his commandments. The Shabbat, the Sabbath day, most people ignore. Not to even mention just the basic commandments of, taking care of the poor and the widow and the orphan, loving your neighbors yourself. I mean, these things are just largely ignored in this nation, by and large, not by everyone, but by most people. And there doesn't seem to be any sign of repentance. In fact, if anything, people are just sort of fascinated by the quote-unquote science of the total solar eclipse that happened a couple weeks ago, and fascinated by these hurricanes if they're not actually being affected by it. Fascinated by how the Northwest is cloaked in dust and ash. But there's no real repentance. There's no real, rending of the heart, and seeking Yah, and saying, oh, have mercy on us. And so I really think, it's not a coincidence that all of these judgments seem to start hitting the nation right here in the Jubilee year, as we're now crossing in toward the fall of the Jubilee year, 2017. As if Yah's just saying, you know what? Time is up. Time is up. So I just thought I'd make this YouTube, not to just point out the obvious, but also just to encourage that those, if you are backslidden, or you've lost your first love, man, seek Him. Get on your face and get close to Him. Get intimate with Him, because we're not in the Great Tribulation. These are just birth pangs that are increasing with frequency. So this is nothing compared to what it will become. So the time to get close to Him is now. This is Daniel John Lee with Torah Restoration Ministries. The website spiritandtorah.com. Shalom.